I want to quickly speak in response to a video that Gino Jennings had created. The title of the video is Women Who Fall for No Good Men. Women Who Fall for No Good Men. And in that video, he's doing what I've heard so many preachers, so many pastors have done. Bash men. But I've never heard a sermon or a teaching bashing no good women. They always focus on no good men and bringing out the faults of no good men, promoting and encouraging the no good women. Now, in this day and time, we didn't have paternity court. But paternity court is exposing so many no good women that have men raising another man's child. And then after that man finds out that he was deceived by that no good woman, he's made to feel guilty if he refuses to continue to take care of another man's seed. He doesn't have the option that many females are given. He has to be a man, according to them, step up to the plate and support another man's child. But I want to read a couple of scriptures. I'm not going to read the full chapter, just a few verses, where even in the Bible it speaks on no good women. And the scriptures I'm going to read, many of y'all are familiar with these verses. If you read the Bible, if you came up in church, you've heard sermons preached on these particular subjects, but never as a no good woman. Never as a warning to man and to your sons to avoid these no good women. The first scripture I want to read is taken from the book of John, the 8th chapter, reading from the 3rd to the 5th verse. And it reads as follows. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her before in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. In other words, they caught her in action. She was in action when she was cheating on her husband, when she was committing an adultery. The 5th verse reads, Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? Now they were saying this to tempt Yeshua. But this is a scripture that's preached so often in the church, but never exposing that no good woman. They only talked about how he forgave them and how he wrote on the ground and said, if any one of you be without sin, cast the first stone. And when he looked up, there was none. And he asked the woman, where are your accusers? And she said, I have none. And then he says that if they don't condemn you, neither do I. But where in the scriptures does it say that a man was caught in the very act of adultery and he received the same forgiveness? I have not read it. Maybe someone have. Maybe someone have a scripture where they can show me. But it appears that women are always given an excuse and a relief from being held accountable for bad choices that they make in life. Even if you watch Paternity Court, they're there for paternity's sake, but yet it's always turned on the man. Well, I did this because he cheated. But yet he's not the one that gave birth to a child. And he's not the one that's in doubt as to who the baby daddy is. You are. The burden of proof is on you. So there are so many pastors that's always condemning men in the church. And I completely understand you do that because the majority of those that pay tithe and offering, the majority of those that are members in the church are women. So you have to satisfy those women, even if it means sacrificing that man. I guess salvation, there's discrimination when it comes to salvation in the churches, because females are always given a pass. They're quickly forgiven, but when it comes to the man, he's no good because he ran out on his kids. He played her, he used her, he manipulated her. Although there are so many men that have raised children that stuck around and raised children that are not their own, but yet you never hear of any of those men given any type of credit at all. But if one day they find out that that child is not theirs, they no longer become a man if he chooses to walk away. And they never make the attempt to try to find the real baby daddy. They just tell he should stick around, he should be a man, he should step up to the plate, he should take care of another man's child. Okay, well, where's the other father? Is there any potential fathers out there? And then that female would stand there and lie in court, and nothing happens to her. She has the right to murder her unborn child. She has the right to walk away from her child. If you choose not to be a mom, you can drop him off at a fire station. There's drop boxes where you can drop your child off and just leave him. But the father don't have that option. He don't have that option to walk away. He's referred to as less than a man. He's a deadbeat that need to step up to the plate. Where is the justice in church? I want to read another scripture, the last and final scripture taken from the book of Matthew, reading the 14th chapter from the 1st to the 8th verse, and it reads as follows. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Jesus, and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod, and this is giving you history of what happened to John the Baptist. For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. So Herod was seeing his brother Philip's wife, and John the Baptist exposed them. And because he exposed them, now Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, had a grudge against John the Baptist. The 4th verse reads, For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. In the 6th verse it reads, But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them, and pleased Herod. So not only was Herod sleeping with his brother's wife, but his brother's daughter was dancing before him. And his mother, or her mother, allowed that to take place. And Herod was lusting after his brother, after his niece, as she danced before him. The 7th verse reads, whereupon he promised an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. So he made a promise to his niece to give her anything she asked if she would dance before him. This is some perverted mess, but yet we don't hear this talked about in the church. The 8th verse reads, and she, being before instructed by her mother, said, give here John the Baptist's head in a charger. You can go back and read the rest of the story. But John the Baptist lost his life over a female. And we find that that very act happens today. There are so many men, especially in the so-called black community, that have lost their lives behind a female and behind the lie of a female. She would play the victim and she would play on some sucker's emotion, and then he feel he now have to come to her rescue. And she, like Herodias, would tell him, I want the head of that man. I want his life taken. And then you have this dude that will go out and murder this man, this innocent man, for nothing. Because someone lied on him. Because he chose to be with a no good female. So I never hear pastors talk about the no good females. But they're always quick to talk about no good men. And will stand proudly in the pulpit, boldly putting men down while promoting themselves. And many so-called preachers and pastors in this day and time are now caught with not just little girls, not just with women, but now with little boys. They abuse that position of authority. And many of them are now being exposed. The same ones that stood in that pulpit and talked about the no good men are now being revealed as a no good man. Not only a no good man, but a pervert that abused the office of ministry. So I just found that to be quite interesting that Gino Jennings, along with other pastors, not just Gino Jennings, but a lot of other pastors, always speak about no good men. But I don't really hear them talking about the no good women. And man that chooses a no good woman. Now, if they do decide to speak on that subject, they don't remain on that too long. They may say a few words and then they'll revert back to it's the man's fault. He's no good and she's like she is because he mistreated her. You see the psychology in that? Making those females that's paying him money in the congregation feel good and secure in the mess that they're in. And in these churches today, you find that there are so many lesbians that's married to men, that's living a down low lifestyle, but we don't hear about that in the church. They only talk about the male homosexuals, not the females. And I know women that made passes on other women in the church. So, feedback, tell me what you think, subscribe, Click on the Cash App, leave an offering. Until next time. Peace.